So today we're going to be comparing the two new hottest helmets in football, the Riddell Axiom and the Schutt F7 Pro. So last week, Riddell and Schutt both dropped massive bombs on their social media announcing the Axiom to the public and the F7 Pro. And both of them have some absolutely crazy tech in these helmets, but you're going to want to stick around to the end because for you, it might not even matter. So the first thing I want to compare is the shell, and then we'll work our way in. All right, so let's start with the Riddell Axiom. It is going to be the predecessor to this bad boy, the Riddell Speedflex, which has been the most popular helmet in football for pretty much the last 10 years. Now, the big thing that the Riddell Speedflex did is it added this hex panel to the front that allowed this piece of the shell specifically to flex in place, and that allowed it to absorb more energy before going to like the liners and the other tech on the inside. So basically like a step one of absorbing and dispersing the impact. Well, the Riddell Axiom took that and put it everywhere, and they created their surround flex system where they basically took the same concept of putting different cutouts in the panel to allow them to flex individually, and they put them everywhere on this helmet. Now, because of that, they even made a really unique and bold change with the face mask, which we'll talk about later. Now, the Schutt F7 Pro is going to be the predecessor to these. So now we have the F7, the F7 2.0, and the F7 Pro. Makes sense. Now, what cool thing did Schutt do when they first came out with the F7 was going to be these on the top. So these are going to be what they call the tectonic plates, and these screws basically hold this panel in place, but allows it to shift independently of the helmet and basically allows it to move in different directions and absorb the impact that way. Now, with the F7 Pro, they've kind of continued that, except instead of a tectonic plate, they have now what they call the tectonic mohawk. So it looks like the plate, except there's no screw in at least the renderings we have, which means that the plate is built into the rest of the shell. Now, how's that going to affect the original tectonic plate design? I actually don't know, and we don't have a lot of good info on it yet. Essentially, from the outside, that looks like the big change between the two models is going to be how this kind of is held in place different. All right, next up is going to be the liners and the other technologies on the inside of the helmets. So Schutt has a bunch of different layers. The first one is what they call their DNA core, and that's going to be essentially a 3D printed lattice on the inside of the helmet. Now, why does that sound so familiar? A lot of the top-rated helmets from last year started to integrate their own 3D printed lattice. So the light Apache has it on the inside here, which you can kind of see that 3D printed on the back. The Zenith Orbit Pro had it before they folded, RIP. And the Riddell Axiom 3D, the model that a lot of the pros use, also has a 3D printed lattice on the inside. So it makes sense, it's really popular. Now, on top of that, they have what they call their OctoFit, which is essentially a technology that they took from the Visors. So inside of the Visors, they have these things called Delta Pods, where these things you can basically pop in and out, and they have different thicknesses to them. So that way you can get a really custom fit all the way around your head without needing air. And that way you can do the very similar thing. Now, technically, the light Apache has the same thing with these kind of pods and pads on the inside that you can kind of place and change. The only difference, though, is it seems like Schutt is a little more precise on like the millimeters and kind of giving that displayed on you so you can get that fit. And the way they pop in and out, the light ones, they're just essentially Velcro. And I think the ones on the F7 Pro are going to be more with the Delta Pods where they snap into place. Now, the next really cool thing that Schutt's doing is what they call their airlock system on the back of the helmet. So do you remember those Reebok shoes that you could basically press and pump them up to add air inside the shoe and the sole? Well, Schutt now has that too. So the biggest part with helmets where people struggle to get a really good fit is right on the back here, which is what you call your occipital. So a lot of people's occipital shape, their shelf here on the back, is really different, and it's hard to get that a good custom fit. So what Schutt has done is they've essentially added in a pump that you can just use your thumb, pump up, and add a little bit of air underneath your occipital, and that way it gets a really nice, tight, snug fit around your head. So the air they're adding in the helmet is not for like safety like the old air bladders used to use, but it's more just to give you a really precise precision fit. And then the other side, you just press it and the air pops out. It is a super cool technology. Would love to get a helmet in my hands here, Schutt, so I could actually show people. All right, now let's compare that to Riddell. And honestly, their liner is one of the original reasons why this helmet could not go to market for a really long time, and that's going to be what Riddell calls their true fit system. So if you guys remember, about a month ago, I made a video where I went into a Riddell licensed dealer and we got me fitted for a Riddell Axiom. And what they have to do is they use this 3D scanning technology to take a map of your head, and then they output that to Riddell, they custom make the pads, and then the pads go inside the helmet. And there's no air needed because they're custom fit to your head. Well, that's really hard to do at scale to millions of football players across North America. So what they've done is they've used their database of those 3D printed scans and used it to influence how it's going to go to the public. So when you go on Riddell's website right now, you input your basic information and you pick a head size. And what they're basically doing is they're looking at the head size you picked versus their database of thousands and thousands of head scans they've already done, and they can recommend the perfect fitting helmet for your head based on your head circumference. It is not made identical to your head like the True Fit system was back then, but at least this allows them to get it pretty damn close and allows it to be quick to ship to you. But by putting in your exact head circumference, they can at least get it close and get it shipped to you a lot quicker and a lot more efficient. Now, I'm also pretty sure Schutt has their own app where basically they can scan your head, and based on that scan, they can basically tell you which OctoFit pods to use. So instead of basically doing a scan and then it going out and telling you like, oh, like we'll custom make you one, see you in 6 weeks, there's basically outputs and says like, oh, based on your head shape, you could put a 8 mil in the back and a 5 mil on top and 3 mils on the side, and you're good to go. So they both have their own kind of head scanning app to help you you get the perfect fit. It's just they kind of go about it in two different ways. All right, next up is going to be face masks. So Schutt has done something that I really like. So say for example, if you have a face mask that you had custom made for your F7, that face mask will still work on your F7 Pro shell. And that's nice. So they're basically forward compatible or backward compatible, however it works, to basically make sure that this will work on there. Now, I'm pretty sure the F7 Pro face masks won't work on an F7. And one of the reasons for that is if you're using the F7 Pro face masks, they are specifically made so that way they can fit their visor, which I'll talk about in a minute. So on an F7 Pro, you can either use your old F7 face mask or you can use an F7 Pro face mask. Now, if you're looking at a Riddell Axiom, they have two different face mask options. So the original ones they came up with, the Riddell Axiom, are going to be the ones that were the most different looking to the public, and that's going to be with their bottom bar face masks. So their thought process was when you're looking at a helmet, sure, you could have all these different points on here that pieces of the shell can flex, but if someone hits this hard face mask here, this metal can't flex. So if we remove this metal from the top and basically allow the helmet to do its job around here better, that way we can make the helmet safer. And that's exactly what they did. The problem with that was people were just frankly not ready for that drastic of a different looking helmet, and there was some pushback. And also at the same time, because of that no top bar design, every traditional visor that someone already owned would not work in the Riddell Axiom, and people also weren't happy about that. So to deal with that, you can still pick up the original versions of the face mask that Riddell Axiom made to basically unlock all of its benefits, or you can get the top bar version of the face mask, which gives it a more traditional look, and a lot of NFL players switched to this year. Now, the biggest advantage to the top bar face mask is you can use your own visor in the helmet that has a traditional clipping system if you don't want to use Riddell's visor, but we'll talk about those next. So yeah, if you're looking at the F7 Pro, you could use an F7 face mask or an F7 Pro face mask, but if you're looking at a Riddell Axiom, it has to be an Axiom face mask, but they do have two different options. All right, next is going to be visors, and Riddell and Schutt are basically in the same boat here. So both of them now have an in-house visor that they offer that's a no clip, no tool system. So Riddell has their visor that clips in place on the sides and basically fits in and underneath that face mask right here. And Schutt has their same thing, except Schutt partnered with Oakley, and it fits directly into that F7 Pro face mask. No clips, nothing required, just pop it in. Really cool tech. However, with your F7 Pro, if you do want to use your own visor, you want to use a different color, you want to use something custom, tons of different visors still fit with that F7 Pro. So you can go with like an Oakley Legacy visor if you want to stick with Oakley, or you can use a Shock 0G like we have here, because this thing fits on pretty much every helmet on the market. And if you're picking up the Riddell Axiom, again, same thing. You can go with their visor, or if you're using the top bar face mask, that unlocks a couple other options. So you could go with like an Oakley Pro visor, like you'd use on a Riddell Speedflex, or again, you can use a Shock 0G visor because it fits on Schutt helmets, it fits on Riddell helmets, it fits on light helmets. The Shock 0G fits on absolutely everything, and that's why we love them, and that's why they're a channel sponsor. We'll link them down below. Now, when we're looking at chin straps, both helmets have their own options out there, but we have another channel sponsor I want to tell you about really quick, and that's going to be Dryax. Dryax makes two amazing products that honestly I should be talking about more on this channel. Number one is going to be their chin saver, which goes around your chin strap. This thing is great because it has a bunch of different properties on it. So when we're looking at the Dryax chin saver covers here, when they're on your helmet, they have antimicrobial materials, which means they help deal with acne and keep your chin clean, but they also have moisture wicking technologies, what pull that sweat away too. So they're great from that perspective. The easy version on here, you can just pop it off, throw it in the washing machine and get it clean again. That was the biggest pain with old chin strap covers, was having to take everything off. So I absolutely love this. And this isn't even part of it, but their socks are the best workout socks on the market. I can see them. I'm wearing them right now. I wear them all the time. Their quarter crews, I absolutely love. Anytime I'm playing soccer, football, any outdoor sports, any indoor sports, any workouts, I'm always wearing these things. I absolutely love them. They're so comfortable. Again, Shock, Dryax, both amazing companies, linked in the description down below. Last thing we're gonna talk about is price and availabilities. So when we're looking at the Riddell Axiom, the big bomb was that they dropped on the public was that they're gonna be publicly available. Again, this helmet's technically been out for a couple of years. Now they released it to the market. I think when you order it on their website, it says it takes up to 6 weeks to arrive to you, and it has a base price of $989. Now there were people that I want to kind of get in check here. So there was people that didn't love that the Riddell Axiom was priced at $989, which is super expensive, right? Helmets used to be $300 to $400. They're way more expensive now. I don't love that. It's making it really inaccessible for people to have the safest tech out there. I get why the companies have to do it, but I'd love to see them cheaper. I just don't know how they do it. Anyways, there's people giving Riddell shit for making a really expensive helmet, but also really happy for the Schutt F7 Pro that they have a new model, but they're not seeing what Schutt is going to have to do as well. You see, the Schutt F7 Pro is going to be just like the Riddell Axiom. It's going to be a pro first helmet. And with that 3D printed lattice, they're trying to compete with the Riddell Axiom 3D, which is the #1 ranked helmet in football. And for NFL teams to buy that helmet's also north of like $2,000 for those teams. So I don't know the actual number for sure, but if the Riddell Axiom is $989 to the public, I'm going to guess that the Schutt helmet is going to be between that $1,400, $1,500 to $2,000 mark for the public to buy one day. So yeah, careful what you wish for. I just wish helmets were $300 again. No, final thing I'll actually touch on here is going to be safety. So we want to make sure that we're comparing apples to apples here, right? So when we're looking at the Riddell Axiom they're releasing to the public, on the Virginia Tech helmet grading scale, this is the number 7th ranked helmet, and on the NFL's helmet testing, it's going to be ranked number 8. When we're looking at the Schutt F7 Pro, it hasn't been ranked in either of these yet, so it's hard to compare them. But we know with the 3D printed lattice, they're going to try and compete against the Riddell Axiom 3D, which is the number 1 ranked helmet on the NFL's test, and it's not available in the Virginia Tech because it's not publicly available, but the F7 Pro will be. So I think from a safety rating, the F7 Pro is going to come in around that 1 or 2 spot on those tests when it actually gets tested and comes out. And last year, the NFL released their test on April 9th, 2024. I'm filming this on April 9th, 2025. So who knows, maybe by the time I actually push out this video, the NFL has released their studies and it has the F7 Pro and I look like an idiot and I missed it and whatever. Nothing I can frankly do about that. But again, I hope you guys enjoyed the info today. I hope you found it helpful. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below and I'll try and help you out and answer them. See you next time.